All right, also here at 300 Gary Street, we basically have, well, in a sense, a blank check on getting this garden the way Christine wants it to be, which is not major intervention, but I'm going to go through everything to make sure we hit on it. And all you need to do is make sure you're recording hours, shop to shop time, recording haulaways, how many haulaways, are they full dump truck loads, and how much mulch and paper you use. Other than that, maybe a little bit of use of herbicide if you need it, but otherwise there shouldn't be any inputs unless you add annuals into one spot where I'll show you where the black gum used to be. So I'm going to walk you through, and I wish you the best. And it's really a great project. I mean, this is ideal because it's of course going to automatically be profitable because it's going to be exactly what it is, set to our rate. Obviously you'll need the Fuso, you'll need it ready to receive waste, and then you'll need it to bring in mulch, and you'll need wheelbarrows for that as well, and you'll need a lot of paper, so maybe stock up on some paper rolls, because I think it'll be a good idea to put paper down in certain areas to kind of suppress the growth. So let's walk through. All right, starting here at the front bed, a lot of this she's okay with. Obviously the grass needs to be mowed here. Of course, you can just do that in bill of time. But all this in here, she wants like delineation between the plants and to see some mulch in the beds. So like this whole area could just be cut back and papered and mulched. All this, you could just mulch over all this lyre leaf sage. It's really quite nice. She wants the Stutzia pruned down and reduced a bit. So you could kind of thin that out or take one of them out if you want to, and mulch this bed really thick. Going with really thick mulch. Just don't mulch up the trunks of the fig tree, don't mulch up the trunks of the gardenia. Get it mulched in really well. This liriope, if you can dig it out, that would be awesome. If not, sheet mulch it really heavily. Just try and get it down as much as you possibly can. Again, mulch around everything. You might have to put down so much mulch that you might have to lift up the stones potentially, but I would try and keep them in place and then just mulch around them and clean the mulch up around them. Redefine the bed edges if you need to with shovels. This back here is awesome, guys. This is great. I can see that someone's just mowing or string trimming back here. She loves that. Really happy with it. We could thin out these canna lilies a little bit, especially the ones close to the butterfly bush. Take some out. The ones close to this miscanthus here, take some out. And of course, clean up all this and clean up some of that in there too, and mulch all this. Now these Nandinas, she said we can cut all that, remove all that stuff. We want to really cut back a ton of this privet here. She says this guy Tom that lives over here on this property back over that way is not going to care at all whatever we do. So I would cut back this monstrosity all right here, make sure that that's all taken out. Same thing with these beds, guys. We want to, you can maybe keep some of this pineapple guava, but otherwise this all needs to be mowed down, papered, mulched, delineation between the plants. She wants to see, beds with some space in it, a little bit of room to breathe for things, buy it some years until it grows back probably. I wouldn't prune the blueberries, but maybe prune up this calocarpa away and clean this up a little bit. Of course, if you see any blue mist flower, this can stay. But there's so much of it, if there's some collateral damage on it, that's okay. This one, you could have this mulched up around it and that could be left, which would be cool. But otherwise, mow down all this periwinkle and cover it up with paper. You could even pull some of it out too, although periwinkle's really hard to pull, so maybe I wouldn't waste your time with it. Again, here, this bed, you could prune back this oak leaf hydrangea, redefine the bed right here. Get all that cleaned up, hack back all those Nandinas, really clean this up a lot. There's lots of weeds going on in here. Bed edge is kind of starting to lose its shape a little bit, so clean that up. Obviously haul away as much of this pile as you can, and then clean up everything all the way to the back of the corner, taking stuff off the fence if you can, cutting this stuff back. All of these ligustrums, they need to be sheared again. You can just shear them with pole shears. And then anything over here on this side, so like these privets and stuff like that, if you can cut them down to a point that if they grow another 2, 3, 4 feet, that we can reach the tops and keep it managed with pole shears, this would be good too, you know. So even though this is on the neighbor's property, she says it's okay to do it. And if they come out and give you any kind of problems about it, she said just tell them to call her. So yeah, and these privets here, like, I don't know why these didn't cut down like those, but they need to be cut down, you know, the same way like those are, all behind the shed over here. The periwinkle here is probably okay. Again, could clean bed lines, take all this back. You know, heavy mulch in here. I don't know what's wrong with the soil here. It's something, you know, problematic with it, probably from some of the tree roots and things like that. And we do have some little blue stem in here, which you could keep, but, you know, mulch all this really heavily. You know, that'll soak up a ton of mulch. I'm expecting 20 yards out here probably. Again, you know, all through here, obviously the fern is good. It can stay. Mulch. Tons of mulch in here. And you can clean off this rock and lift that up right there. But lots and lots of mulch all through here. You know, I was just working in garden maintenance on cleaning up that bed. It was a big mess. You know, all this stuff, you can mulch in here, get all this back. You could even haul some of this away for them. That can go in with yard waste and get dumped at Buffalo. I don't know about some of that other stuff, but, you know, that tarp doesn't look like anyone's using that. So if we wanted it, we could take it, I think. But yeah, prune all this, you know, head eye level or shorter. Open that up. This kind of thing she's good with, as long as there's no weeds in there. You redefine bed edges. You know, this bed with this tree here is filled with stilt grass. This all needs to be weeded, or sheet mulch, which means paper and mulch. So get all that down. She wants this wax myrtle here. So there's the road. This wax myrtle taken down way far, like bring it up to head height, okay, and clean up any of this stuff here. And she said we can also cut back all this lizard's tail and sheet mulch over top of it. It will come back. I mean, it's a really nice ground cover. I would suggest keeping that, but she wants to take it down. Same thing back over here. You know, we've got this berm. It's nice. We got the fig tree. It needs some more soil or just a ton of mulch. And, you know, mulch all the way from here, cleanly define this bed edge, get all the weeds out or whatever you have to do if you want to spray them, whatever. And then mulch really good and clean all this up, all this fence and everything you can get to, kind of bring it all the way back. Okay, so mulch there, you know, obviously mulch all in here. This ground cover can mostly stay, but I would reduce it as much as you can. This is Lamium or Yellow Archangel. Mulching all this. And then she really wants the garden. Ooh, there's some spider webs. Watch out. She really wants the garden, if you're looking from the street in towards here, to be really open and more cleaned up. And, you know, everything needs to be cut back on the creek bank. I'll talk about the area I just walked through in a second. That's really important. She said she wants this dogwood pruned heavily over this. She doesn't want, you know, this, how it's growing into the Pieris. She wants that like reduced, you know, back to here, something like that, quite a bit. But going back, you know, spend some time cutting out the little trees here. Obviously we can't get the liriope out. That's probably never gonna happen, but you know, all of this needs to be weed whacked down. Of course, we do that with maintenance, but like the forsythia here, see how it's got a bunch of vines growing in it? Obviously, I love that black-eyed Susan, but taking that out and pruning the forsythia, opening this up. She even wants us to prune down this burning bush and make sure there's some delineation between it and the camellia, and prune the camellia or take that branch off of the Japanese maple there. So, you know, cleaning all this up and kind of opening this up and taking out some of those canes from the forsythia, you know, pruning this wax myrtle and opening that up. So she wants to, you know, be able to kind of almost see into the garden if you're looking at it to the street here. Okay, so like here, you can see how there's a little window, but this, you know, wax myrtle needs to come down. So I'm expecting a lot of loads coming out of here in the Fuso, you know, maybe 2-3 full loads. And then all through here, you know, just whack and cut and whack and cut and clean all this out and get in there with a brush cutter or a string trimmer and clean all that up. So it shouldn't look like this, you know, this really, really, really dense area all the way out to, you know, probably about right here. You can see where that bridge is and how that comes across. So, because you know, their property line runs along this fence, which you can't even see because it's so crazy. But, you know, clean all that up in there. I would just weed eat down any of the English ivy once you got it opened up enough. Really open this up and allow some light and airflow to go through the garden here. So that's that. Of course, you know, there's nothing we can do about that other than continually weed whacking it, which we need to do. I would do that same day as well, so it's all freshly done. Weed eat all this, weed eat all that. She said this ground cover over here can stay, all chill. Talking about, again, the Lamium, the yellow archangel. Okay, here, sheet mulching all of this area. See how much spurge is in here? So much spurge. Want heavy, heavy, heavy layer of mulch. Now you might have to dig a little edge in along here because the mulch will spill onto the path. As you know, if we go really heavy on that side, that's not a problem because the grade slopes away from the path there, but really heavy mulching here. Cleomes she loves. And she says that she wants this Japanese maple taken out because she's afraid it'll get the size of this one or this one. So make sure that gets removed. And then she really, really would love, you know, I talked about doing a prairie. She said, no, I don't want any more plants. You know, it's just too much. What she really wants is annuals here. So if you can get some annual plants in here, that would be great. Just, you know, record the price, the cost of them. Campbell Road would be my first choice if you were trying to get annuals in a pinch. Otherwise, of course, you could go up the street to Burke Brothers or that place across from it. Just, you know, if you pay retail for it, we don't make any money on that. That's all good. But yeah, just make sure you send me that as part of the final notes for the project, along with labor hours, how many holloways you did, how much mulch you used, or any other material, and of course include the plants too. This Japanese maple, she wants to see some major branches taken off, not like the super thick guys. I wouldn't recommend that, but you know, you can see where it's kind of getting over to the house. You know, any of those branches are guilty of imposing on the power lines, they can go. Actually, so maybe not that crazy pruning, but it could use a little bit for sure. I'm taking some of that down. You know, go ahead and give another fresh shear to the sweet box. She says this ground cover here is okay. This is okay. It needs to be weeded. I think we need to reduce this ajuga through here just because the path is starting to disappear. So that's one thing as well. So, but she says this is actually okay. Of course, you can clean up in there. Mulch in here if you can. And do not stress if you mulching over plants in this context. You know, if you mulch over, I mean, obviously don't intentionally mulch over the like hostas, for example. But if you mulch over some plants, that's going to be all right. Keep the mulch clean of the path. You know, this is looking good here. These could probably use another pruning. That liriope I would love to see ripped out of here. The sweet box could be reduced. Now here's like kind of the tougher part of the project, or tougher for me. All of these iris that are here, she wants most of them taken out or like heavily reduced. You can keep a few in like isolated pockets, but most of that she wants taken away. Same thing with the daylilies over here. I mean, she said we can't take out too many plants here. She's not stressed about that at all, so she's not worried about it. This loropetalum, I had it pruned like beautifully in a tree form. It's kind of lost that. So, you know, maybe somebody who's really good at and fast with that, like Cormac or someone, you know, can work that into like a cool, neat shape, or maybe remove some of those straighter branches there. This cotinus probably needs to be pruned. I'd probably just take those branches in half. That's not a big deal though. So yeah, reducing a lot of this, reducing just the density of the plant material here, I would just go ahead and remove the lamium in this spot. That stuff right there, that's yellow archangel. And just really kind of rip all this down, reduce it, and of course mulch really heavily. You know, getting in here as well and taking out any of the cattails that are in the center. These, especially these that are laying down, you know, if you can't dig them out, maybe just see if you can cut them all the way down. But you know, this looks like a bit of a mess, so that needs to happen as well. And then of course, you know, string trim this just like we normally do. Of course, this isn't everything. Oh yeah, one more thing I'll say is it's very important to her. These irises, she does not like this, how many there are. She said we could grow like a few around the post, but otherwise she wants all of them removed. She says it's like, you know, Irv can't even access the hose because of how many there are right there. So, you know, these all need to be taken out too. And then she said she wants these herbs, like this looks too much. I mean, to me it's good. I like high plant density, but she wants some of this removed and just opened up a bit through here. Okay, same thing over here. If you can do something to really stunt down this liriope for a little while, it'd be good. Remove some of these daylilies, and you know, really want to clean up the beds around here and get that rock wall restacked if we need to, and opened up all this. This is all supposed to be bed in here that's completely gone to weeds. So, you know, all the way through here, and can prune down these wax myrtles. And of course, I'll say it again, prune down all these Nandinas on the neighbor side, prune all this ligustrum. And also, if you can pull all these rocks out, like this looks good right here at the end, but the rest of it looks like a hot pile of crap. So if all that can be pulled out and restacked with the larger ones on the bottom, so it slightly slants downward, right? So if we're looking at it this way, it should be graded so it slants at an angle going this way, not going this way. Okay, it shouldn't be falling into the driveway, it should be falling back into the bed. Okay, ever so slightly. All right, guys, that's my best description of this. I wish you luck, have fun, record your hours, work efficiently and fairly. We don't want to charge her for time. We're lollygagging, but you know, take reasonable amounts of breaks and everything like that. And happy gardening.